Chronicles of a Winged Star, Episode 1, Advantage of Asteroids, Chapter 1. War has reached a boiling ending point, which is close to its end, but fighting has never reached a stalemate. After almost lasting 4 bloody years, there was no end in sight, and the Artemis Galileo cluster is in chaos as a result of the two fractions fighting. It is the year 2113 of the Rex Sidon calendar. Two planetary powers declared war on each other. One side was the United Republic of Cornea, a republican monarchy that head leader, king or queen, only rules for 4 years along with his council members in order to prevent dictatorships and abuse of power. They are fighting due to protecting their people and property from the invading forces of the Federation of Alliance and this military force known as the Axheart Security. The other side is the Federation of Alliance, a plutocracy government that relies on nobles and upper class people to contribute to society while the poor work and maintain society. So anyways, the declaration of war is to gain control of the URC's natural resources and spread their control of the cluster. On the far end of the cluster, there's a battle that just broke out between a small fleet number, about 2 battlecruisers, 2 Lone Star, Lone Fighter carrier ships, 2 squadrons of Lone Fighters, which are 5 per squadron, which makes 10 in total, and finally 8 Lone Star humanoid-looking battle machines that are designed to fight from different terrain, from air, land, sea, and finally space, which accounts for 2 units or teams of 4 Lone Stars. Lone Stars are scouting to anti-Lone Star combat. On the other side, they got 4 battlecruisers, 4 LS and LF transports, 35 LF units, and 15 LS units due to their transports being much larger and bigger than the RRC's transport ship, and the 4 battlecruisers are not just larger but also armed with a mega cannon and miniguns for LS and LF situations, in addition to their superior numbers of LS and LF units compared to the URC, 10 Lone Star fighters and 8 Lone Star units. The two forces met face to face inside of an asteroid field while they're on their way back to reach supplies for their respective forces. The exchanges of cannon fire and machine guns from their battle carriers are interrupted by asteroids that got into the way while floating. After 15 minutes, the two sides stopped firing their cannons and decided to send out their LS and LF fighters in order to navigate the asteroid field. The opposing LS and LF forces clashed. Then all of a sudden, the URC ships signaled their units to retreat from the RDL ships and deeper into the asteroid. Captain, what the flying hell are you doing in the middle of a battle? Yet decided to run away while the enemy can easily chase throughout space. The captain of the URC forces silently looked at his surroundings, sighed, and looked around at his surroundings and the battle. He turned around and looked with the admiral with annoyance and pointed at the admiral at the asteroids. "Admiral Photos, why aren't our main cannons and ships' machine guns aren't effective on the enemy? It's because of these asteroids we couldn't get a clean shot on those ships. And also we can use those asteroids for a shield and barrier to protect our Lone Fighters and Lone Star units. Our pilots will appreciate us for that. Also, let me explain reason 2. The reason is because the enemy has a superior amount of forces than us. We cannot just fight them head on. Our forces will be crushed by just sheer numbers alone. Didn't they teach you that at the academy?" Admiral Photos just stood at his captain with frustration, and while the captain spoke, he started to get the clear picture of what was going around him. "Oh, I see why. Why you didn't tell me in the first place, and why you sent some of our fighters and LS units out into battle is to send some decoy or to test the enemy pilot's combat capabilities." The captain cut up Admiral Photos sharply. "The reason why we used our main cannons and guns as well as to send some more LS and LF forces is to protect the main ship from direct attack, while the remaining of the forces use an asteroid field for a temporary barrier for a short time to lower the enemy's units from being deployed. That'll buy us time for a counterattack. We don't have enough time for this opportunity before our forces get overwhelmed by the amount of forces deployed, as the amount of casualties our forces have, and we don't have the amount to afford a high number due to us assigned for scouting purposes. Also, the asteroid field will be a bunch of space dust due to our enemy's energy cannons from their ships. Due to the fact we don't have enough time here, let me tell you the details, so pay attention, Photos. We might need in order to survive another day. Photos looked at his captain with attention, and then the captain turned on the monitor to analyze the combat situation. The monitor turned on and quickly showed the battle in real time. Okay, Photos, here's the situation. We only have a short amount of time to pull this off. On the left side of the enemy's formation, there's 2 of their transport ships and 1 of their battle cruisers. But here is the problem. We cannot face any, and I mean any, of the battle cruisers alone. So we have to do it while we hide inside the asteroid field. And we must do it before the enemy notices our position. As a result, we must split our forces in half in order to divert the enemy, so we don't consolidate our numbers into a single spot of this asteroid field. So anyways, after we split our forces in 2, you and I will command these fleets due to the ship being lost. Due to the head ship being lost to a major battle, along with our ton of our firepower and support. We are in charge of this fleet because these 2 cruisers and remaining ships is all that we have left. We must not die here, and must return to Corneria to give our report to the Republic that our general left us before he sacrificed his life to save us. So we must return a favor to him to deliver this intel to the king and the council. It is key to turn this war around to our side. Anyways, 1 half of our forces will be on the right and the other will be on the left. We will attack one of their each transport cruiser on each side in our cannons on our main battle cruisers, and we'll attack one of the battle cruisers on their subjective sides. That will bring a diversion as well as a chance to bring a dent to the enemy's numbers. And most importantly, a chance for us to escape back to Corneria by warp speed transit. Our lone fighters will distract the fighters and the Lone Star units, while our Lone Star units will be armed with missiles and anti-ship weapons to destroy the transport ships, while our 2 battle cruisers will use our main cannons to target their battle cruisers' weak point to destroy those cruisers while moving so we can get to the warp point. Another thing that are numbers. We must use these tools well as cloaking and signal and CPU jamming tech we can only use in a limited supply, so we must use them wisely. And finally, after attacking, we rendezvous with the remaining forces behind the enemy fleet. Then we use the last of our jammers to distract the enemy while making their CPU ship systems unable to warp. Then we warp back to Corneria. Have any questions? Admiral Photos then look at the captain and smile. No, sir. We have no time to waste. Let's go. Then the 2 looked at the enemy and hoped the plan worked as soon as according to plan. Chapter 2. While the URC forces withdrew from the battle, a handsome man with black tinted glasses with a tall build looked at the enemy, worried that they fled into the asteroid field. He ordered a gathering of his advisors in order to send their Lone Star fighter units to attack them in the asteroid. After 10 minutes, his advisors came in his meeting and to discuss their plan to send in lone fighters and Lone Stars to attack. We have a situation at hand here, and they are leading us to a trap that is set up in front of us. And as Signore, I will just send in a small number of lone fighters in order to scout the area. Because these ships don't come with sonar capabilities due to our superiors in providing us with more advanced ships. Don't know why myself, but we must do with the best of our abilities for now. Any objections or questions, please answer them now or forever hold your peace. His advisors looked at each other and at him, and one of them said, Signore, they are just a small scout force that we can just crush them by sending out our Lone Star units and our Lone Fighters to crush their forces. We got enough firepower to do it. Signore, please give us the approval to do it. The handsome man looked at his men and looked down and shook his head. We are heading into a trap here. If we led our forces into the asteroid field, they could pick us off. I suggest we send in our Lone Fighters to quickly navigate through the asteroids to wipe our enemies out. They only have 2 battle cruisers, and they are smaller and weaker than our models, and we must use our fires to lower their LS units, and we wipe them out. Then the transports. That's my suggestions, and I highly advise to go along with it. His advisors looked at each other and at him, and one of them said, "Sorry, Signore, but the consul has decided to go with our plan. So don't worry, we will crush the enemies before we lose another battle cruiser." The handsome man looked annoyed as well as frustrated, and he thought to himself, "I hope you're right about this." Back at the URC, the main ship, the two men just got done finishing their announcement to the plan to strike. The two then got to their suspected areas and gave the order to split up into two groups, one on the left and one on the right. Two ships went their separate ways into the asteroid belt and slowly traveled until they reached their attack points. The two sides waited until the enemy thought they just vanished into the asteroid field at the front, but when deep into it, they quietly deployed their LS and LF units to attack the transports, and the LS units hid behind large asteroids while the LS fighters flew past them in order to divert the enemy. The fighters activated their EMPs and launched them out, then detonated them. Then all of a sudden, a flash of blue lighting appeared and shocked the enemy fleet. "Sir, we just lost power and our computer systems are down. I repeat, they are down." A soldier just dashed to the handsome man, telling him about the news. He then looked straight at the soldier. "What do you mean our systems are down?" Then all of a sudden, the room suddenly went dark and everyone panicked instead of the handsome man. Instead of having some of our LS and LF units stay behind to defend the fleet, none of this would have been a problem. But no, the consul had assigned me to idiots who only want glory from battles and not take into account that every battle must be our last. Tell us of their position where they're at. The soldier said, "We lost sight of them ever since they went into the asteroid belt." "Damn it!" shouted the handsome man. Call off the ships available through radio transmission to defend the main fleet at once." Then out of the blue, a sound of a loud explosion came from the left side of the fleet. "Sir, one of our transport ships have been attacked. Update, now our forces are in contact with the enemy, sir, and for some reason, our forces are being wiped out and required to send backup due to their LS units being armed with..." Then a loud explosion came from the right side, which one of their transport ships are being attacked. "Sir, we have an update now that our other transport ships are being attacked as we speak, and our forces are struggling to fend them off, and they are using the asteroids as a form of defense from our units," informed the soldier. The man came to the soldier, asked him for another update, and then came to realizing that their units are not designed to travel through asteroids with ease unlike the URC's LS and LF models. "Contact all remaining LS and LF units to come back here at the main fleet at once and regroup. If they're not, there are targets out there. I don't know how long before the systems go back online." The soldier then replied, "About an hour, sir." The man was shocked. An hour was a long time for battle, and they were too late to even think of a counterattack. By then, their ships would be completely wiped out, and their LS units, as well as their LF forces, would have been down by about 75%. Then all of a sudden, a large bright light appeared on both sides of the ship, and a huge loud crash and explosions came on both sides of the ship. "Sir, due to our systems being down, we cannot tell about the damage done to our ship, but the update by radio, sir, is two of our transports are destroyed." Wait, sir, wait. We got audio confirmation about a battle. No, this cannot be. The man then cut off the soldier and grabbed the radio transmission from the soldier. His face came from the shock to absolute horror. "Not one. No, that's impossible. This cannot be. This cannot be happening. This cannot be right. Two of our battle cruisers have been destroyed by two of their battle cruisers' main cannons, targeting the weak points of our cruisers? How do they have the tech, as well as the funds to have that sort of weapon on their cruisers?" The URC ships are smaller than our ships, and as well as the firepower. How do they get this sort of firepower of a mega cannon? They are reserved for lone fortress units. It's impossible they can even afford those, let alone develop them. Signore Dante del Rosaforte will not be embarrassed like this ever again. The soldier then gave an update to Rosa Forte. Sir, we got reports that 75% of our Lone Star forces have been wiped out and 90% of our lone fighters have been destroyed. Sir, you must pull back our remaining forces, sir. We cannot be in this firefight in the asteroid field any longer. It isn't feasible for our troops to be in that battle anymore. Rosa Forte looked at his soldier and said calmly, pull back the remaining forces now. We lost too much than what we bargained for. We need to think of a counterattack, and fast, because we don't have enough time before we... Right before he was able to finish his sentence, a large, bright light came from behind the FDL fleet, and it was the URC fleet that split into two rendezvous back into a single fleet and warped away from the asteroid field. Rosa Forte dropped to his knees and hands in complete defeat, along with his advisors in complete shock and embarrassment. What has happened during the battle? Then all of a sudden, the ship systems came back online, but it didn't matter to the crew, let alone Rosa Forte and his advisors. They are too embarrassed, let alone ashamed. What has occurred during that battle? They would have easily won. The URC fleet has fled successfully and took out 75% of their Lone Star force and 90% of their Lone Fighter force. Took 50% of their transporters and 50% of their battle cruisers. In total, the URC have took about 45% of Rosa Forte's FDL fleet in total, which barely happens in a skirmish, let alone a huge battle in those numbers. While the URC fleet only had a few Lone Fighters, and 2 out of the 8 Lone Star units have been destroyed in battle. While their transports and main 2 battle cruisers have been touched in battle due to the cloaking and jamming capabilities, as well as the men and women who sacrificed their lives so they couldn't reach their ships, let alone their fleet to live for another day. While the URC ship, the Admiral and the Captain were beyond shocked that the Captain's last-minute plan worked not as suspected but above beyond expectations. And the pilots of those 2 destroyed LS units, from the look of things, their pilots used an eject feature to escape the destruction of their units and hid behind the asteroids before they can signal their friendly unit to go rescue them, which even surprised even those 2 due to the fact LS units don't have a eject feature built into them. The 2 men and their crew celebrated their victory after they warp drive their home planet, Corneria. Back on the FDL fleet, the Rosa Forte was still in shock. What has happened and disappointed showed on his face due to the events of the battle. He sat down in his chair and pinched above his nose and sighed. Please send in contact to headquarters. I have to make the report. Yes, sir. Acknowledged the soldier, then afterwards opened a communications link to the FDL headquarters. Signoi del Dante del Roseforte, reporting to Commander Lady Marendi Rose about what the URC has on their battle cruisers, and we lost about half of our fleet's fighting capability, all thanks to their tactical skills, and those aforementioned cannons that they used on 2 of our transport ships, but 30 Lone Star fighters and 9 Lone Star units and 2 battle cruisers, not 1 but 2 battle cruisers. You know how much a single battle cruiser costs, let alone all the other ships and crew that you lost? And you said that the enemy has some sort of powerful energy cannon attached to their main battle cruisers? Still, this intel won't be good enough for our superiors. Let me see what I can do to give you a new battle cruiser and 2 more transports. That's all I can give. But next time, tell that to your advisors, as well that the URC ships are noteworthy ships that specialize in special attacks, like hiding in asteroid fields or ambushes. I hope it never happens again, and I hope you listen to my small advice. Rosa Forte. Lady Maidenrose out. Then the communications monitor went black. Rosa Forte then stared at the sea of stars and thought to himself if his advisors would listen to his advice instead of rushing to their forces into the asteroid fields. He looked at his advisors and crew instead prepared a course to the closest supply base. We don't have the firepower to survive another attack like this. We need new ships and new crew, as well as for those ships and supplies as well. The crew looked at him and said, "Yes, sir." Then Rosafort just sat on his chair, closed his eyes, while the remaining fleet moves away from the asteroid field. Chapter 3. Captain Horos informed the Admiral. "I still cannot believe how we even pulled that plan off, even though we have enough manpower or resources to fight back. But yet we took about half of their fighting power," Photos explained Horos. He just looked at Photos with a smile and nodded. "Without those jammers or cloaking capabilities, we would have easily lost way more men and ships if we pulled it off without them. Always, my friend, as an instructor, I would say, if given an opportunity as an advantage, will always mean always take it. You don't know will turn the tides of battle to your favor or give us to an advantage. How big or small the opportunity appears, just take it," Horos said while he picked up a book and started to read. Photos just smiled and just looked at the many books that Horos had at his desk, and he went back to his desk and started to look at the results of the battle on his computer on his desk. He closed his eyes and smiled and then took a notepad and started to write in his journal the events, what has happened. After 15 minutes in hyperspace, a planet suddenly appeared and Photos and Horos stood out of their desks while their crew awaited orders. A communications signal appeared and one of their soldiers informed the Horos to respond to it. "Open the communication to RUC headquarters," commanded Horos. The communications then showed an older man that is in his 50s. He looked very wide. He's looked at everyone respected. He looked at Photos and Horos as well as the rest of the crew. "You guys must be tired, and the fact we realized that we still have fleet still in one piece after that disaster. You guys look tired, and I'll tell our planetary defense unit to open the gates and defenses so you guys are clear to land. You guys need to rest. The rest. The Council and the King are looking forward to your reports and on the secret data you're able to attain. Before the main ship perished, along with General Lonfort and your main ship, I am looking forward to seeing you. Signing off." Then the communications screen went blank and the two men and their crew looked at the planet and smiled because they can have a long, well-deserved rest. After being involved in so much battles, they can be at peace. The end.